you could want to do 100 different things and you might not get to do them all. So you have to, or you could, if you hurry up. And it might not be a good thing because like I'm constantly moving, I feel like I don't have time to sit. I barely have time to go to the restroom. But like that's like kind of at the forefront of my mind always is hurry.
Yeah.
Like hurry, we're running out of time.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show today. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about West Texas Speech. What is it and how'd you get into it?
So West Texas Speech is a speech therapy clinic, rehabilitation, outpatient center. So there's a really big need in our area and actually nationwide for speech therapy services. It's a rehabilitation service like occupational therapy and physical therapy are. So speech therapy, when people ask me, basically, I'm like everything from the neck up. So it consists of your speech, obviously, and then anything that has to do with the mouth, chewing, feeding, and swallowing, as well as cognition. So like when there's traumatic brain injuries, I get a lot of referrals from like the Lubbock trauma centers once they're discharged to come back to West Texas, working on like cognition, organization, thought, memory, and things like that. So so it's pretty broad. I see babies, I see adults. Like my youngest patients are like a day old.
Wow.
Yeah. And then my oldest one right now is like 85. So it's pretty broad across the lifespan.
And you're technically a speech pathologist?
Speech pathologist.
How did you get into that?
So growing up, my mom was a teacher, and I was like, I'll just be a teacher. But kind of getting into it halfway, I was like, maybe I really don't want to be a teacher. She just had me grading papers all the time and stuff. And maybe she gave me
Sounds fun.
the negative part of it. Here, grade these papers for me. Help me out. She was like a second grade teacher for years. I wanted to do something education-wise. I wanted to give back to the community. I wanted to educate, but I also liked the medical field. And so speech pathology was a happy middle point to that because I could work in the school, so I could have my summers off because of my kiddos. And then medically, I could go work in a hospital or a nursing home or anywhere else. So really the options for work placement and career was really broad and flexible, and that's what I was looking for. So I went in there. I worked at the school district for 7 years, ECISD.
Wow.
Did some home health. I've always done home health. I kind of like that aspect of going into the homes, and it's more functional for the patient because this is your house, this is your cabinet, open the cabinet, let's make a cake together, read the directions type stuff.
Okay. How much schooling is it?
So it's entry level is master's degree. So I'd say like 7 years, 4, 5, 6, and then there's a year of internship involved. So 7 years.
When did you start West Texas Speech?
After working at the school district for 7 years, I went to the hospital. I left the school district completely, and I went to the hospital to get, more medical treatment experience in the acute and ICU and stuff. And they were like, "Hey, do you want to open up? We have a different job for you. Like, we have something for you. Do you want to do this?" And I just said yes, really not knowing what it was. And it was the old Odessa Regional Medical Center Hospital emergency room that was vacant. And they were like, "Can you turn this into an outpatient pediatric therapy center?" And I had already said yes. And I was like, okay. And like not having any experience and having like built anything up like that. I mean, I had my therapy degree and I knew like how to do therapy. I just like starting business wise. They were like, "Here's the funds, like let us know what you need." And they literally just like left me in the old emergency room. And it had all the old emergency like rooms, department, like desks and stuff. And it was like an outpatient outreach type of, they're doing a little bit of diabetes education down there and stuff. And they were like, "Let's do some speech therapy." And I just kind of took it on and ordered waiting room furniture, helped hire therapists, did a lot of outreach, a lot of community health screenings for the community, and a lot of education, did a lot of talks. And then I was like, okay, this is great. But also, it's a hospital, and I really just can't do whatever I want.
Sure.
Yeah.
I sometimes I like to do whatever I want. So I was like, I set it up, I left it great, and I was like, I'm going to go do this, but for myself. And so I went to I just got a little suite downtown Odessa, and I was the receptionist. I was the therapist. I was a custodian.
Wow.
Like, I did everything. I was answering phones. I was like in the back seeing patients. And it got to the point where I was in the back seeing a patient and my phones were ringing and the door was chiming. So somebody's in the lobby and somebody's calling, but I'm back here doing therapy.
Yeah.
So I was like, I can't do this by myself
No.
anymore. And that's when I hired like a receptionist.
Okay.
And then, now I can't see all these patients by myself because there was a line in the hall. Got to hire a therapist. And kind of grew from there. Grew out of that suite into a suite across the hall. Then we grew out of that 4 or 5 years later. Then I acquired the land on Medical Park Drive off of Faudree, and I built my own facility, 5,000 square foot. We have 7 therapists now. We're providing occupational therapy services now. So
Wow.
Yeah, I saw an article where I think it was maybe 2021, the SBDC, like Small Business Owner of the Year.
yes,
Right?
yeah.
Like you got
Last year, actually.
Oh, it was 2022.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I was like, oh, this is a big facility. It was like 5,000 square feet plus,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
that's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that was super cool. To Business Person of the Year for the Odessa market. But yeah, it's crazy. Like sometimes it's surreal. Thinking about it, you're doing your work, you're doing what you love, and then you kind of look back sometimes, or you read an article on yourself, and you're like, oh,
Like, I did that.
That's cool.
Yeah, you get to reflect on where you started, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's so cool.
And so yeah, moving forward, so we're looking to expand into Austin area. So
Oh, cool. All right. Look at you scaling up.
yeah.
You're go.
Yeah,
Huh?
there's definitely a need for the therapy services, and so looking to probably open Austin by mid-November, right after Thanksgiving. So
Okay.
Very
Oh,
cool.
you're going then. Yeah.
we're going.
That's quick.
Deals are signed.
Yeah.
So, can you talk a little bit about the therapy itself, right? Like, what types of speech impediments and disorders?
Yeah. So starting with the newborns, sometimes they're born premature, and so they're having trouble with suction, with like milk intake. So I work with like the muscles of the mouth to help them like drink, whether it's breast or bottle, to kind of help strengthen those muscles and help like doing suck training. Occasionally we might have to modify a diet. Sometimes they have like the button, or they have to be fed via like nose or stomach, because they can't eat. So my job is to then wean them to back, to be able to eat orally, nutrition. And then of course sometimes we have cleft palate, babies that are born with cleft palate or Down syndrome and other types of disorders like that. And then they're going to have, due to low muscle tone or oral dysfunction, they're going to have difficulty eating. So that's my job with the babies mainly. I see a lot of tongue ties. I do orofacial myofunctional therapy. I included that into like my services and really dove in deep with that about 6 years ago, because it's something where it's touched on in school, but it's one of those things like you have to get out and continue your education to focus on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that really entails like tongue ties, tongue thrusts, like any kind of muscle dysfunction of the face and mouth, lips, tongue. And then I went and got certified in that. And at this point, I'm the only certified orofacial myologist in this area.
Wow.
So that keeps me busy as well. That's super cool, though. So that as they get older, they might have trouble eating. I have a lot of babies that are like choking. They're not chewing their food. They're swallowing it whole, And so I have moms come and be like, the pediatrician says, like, or like mom will be like, I noticed like when they were using the restroom, food's just coming out. They're not chewing. They're just swallowing their food whole. It's amazing how they'll just take a bite of food, and they'll just like swallow it whole.
That's
so
so
then they're
crazy.
not chewing. So then
Yeah.
that's my job at that point, to kind of teach them, like my toddlers, or maybe like 1 to maybe my 3-year-old sometimes, just how to chew your food and swallow it. And then we have the speech. Just that's a really big population that we have, is just like my kiddo's not talking. The bulk of our patients are my kiddo's not talking, or we don't understand what they're saying. So it could be like stuttering. It could be apraxia of speech, which is like not being able to motorly control and output words and say what you need to say. And sometimes language disorder, just being like, you could ask them how their day was. They just don't know how to answer you.
Right.
They can't hold a conversation with you. So they have like a communication disorder in that sense. And then we always have in my adults, like stroke patients, and gosh, sometimes they're young.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had some like stroke patients in their 40s.
Wow.
Yeah, and having a stroke could affect different things, right? So like could affect your speech, feeding, swallowing, just when if you have like muscle weakness, and then as well as like word finding, like they know what they want to say but they can't like get the word out. So like for instance, like I'll be like, "What's this?" It's a cup, and they're just like, they'll tell me like, "I know what that is." What's the word for it? They're like, "You drink out of it." Like they'll tell me all about it, or but what's the word? They just like they can't say
Yeah.
cup. They know it's a cup. Like it doesn't affect intellectual ability. It's like a word finding deficit.
Yeah.
And so I'll show them a picture of like it'll be a picture of like a cigarette on like the adult portion part of it. They're like, you light it and you smoke it, but the word cigarette, the word pencil, pen, cup, shoe,
Yeah.
those words are like lost in the left part of the brain. And so it's our job to like rehabilitate that word finding.
Is that type of example specific with stroke victims, or is it? I mean, how do you diagnose that?
It's specific to damage in the left hemisphere of the brain,
Okay.
specifically the what we call like the Broca's area, or Wernicke's area. So it's like two different parts of the brain that specifically Broca's being motor speech and Wernicke's being like language. So it's anything that it could mainly it's a stroke, but it could be a car accident or it could be any kind of other trauma that hit that specific portion of the left side of the brain, like literally like these two parts here.
Interesting. My mom
Yeah.
had several strokes that we only recently found out about, and now I want to go and like look at her brain scan and be like, all right, where do you see that evidence? Because
Yeah.
that's just interesting to me. 'Cause
Yeah.
she does have trouble like finding her words and stuff.
Occasionally, it is in the right hemisphere. If the blood clot or aneurysm happen to be in the right side of the brain, that's going to be more like our like organization, things like that. So it just kind of depends where, but the majority of the time I see it like in the left hemisphere
Interesting.
of the brain. And so car accidents as well will kind of cause that. So I do see I work with a lot of patients who've had CVAs, strokes, and then I have a lot of brain injured, so traumatic brain injuries. I have some like people that ride horses and like a lot of like horse riding accidents out here. ATVs, a lot of ATV accidents, just depending on like where we live and kind of in what we see, and then car accidents. So Lubbock, they'll go to the Lubbock Trauma Center, but after discharge, they're like, okay, they need therapy. They live in Odessa, they live in Midland. Like, where do we go? We have a few. We have West Texas therapy that's related. It's inside and related to Midland Memorial Hospital. I think it's attached there. And then we have some inpatient, but we just really are limited on therapy service providers.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe like 2 or 3 providers, in Midland and like 2 in Odessa.
Wow.
And for this population that we have, I mean, and I think all of us can say we have, some kind of wait list.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I do triage. You had a stroke, your, kiddo's choking, like come in right away. But traditionally speaking, like if it's not an emergency, they might have to wait a few months to get in for evaluation and treatment. So, but yeah, definitely a big need. And with the population that we have, there's just not enough service providers.
Yeah.
So
I have a question. I hear tongue tie a lot, like from friends of mine who are mothers. I'm sadly not a mother. What does that mean, actually?
it's the frenum. So we all have a frenum. It's the little string that's under your tongue. But sometimes it's too short, it's too tight, and that happens like during development.
Yeah.
It's like a midline kind of, I want to say defect. It stayed a little tight, didn't loosen up like it was supposed to.
Yeah.
It was like a lip tie and a tongue tie. And if the tongue is tethered and it's too like tight, I guess it's tied, right, to the floor of the mouth, then it's not able to move and elevate like it needs to functionally for speaking, like your L, TD, even like chewing and swallowing. Like sometimes when I get patients referred, the pediatrician will refer for like, this patient is choking. Okay, and after like analyzing them and doing an assessment, their tongue is not moving because it's tied.
Yeah.
So then like it's hard for them to move that piece of meat or food, to their chewing surfaces and even lift their
Right.
tongue to swallow it to push it back, because it's the tongue's not moving. You need your
Yeah.
And so I find a lot of that. And I work with a lot of local dentists because sometimes they're oral health providers, right? So sometimes the dentists are the first ones to look in the mouth and see that. So I collaborate, and I have a team of doctors here, mainly in Midland and some in Odessa. And I actually started coming down here to Midland with one of the doctors here to help kind of screen and do some education with that.
Nice.
We do pre and post frenectomy therapy. Frenectomies when the majority of the time that's going to be the solution. They just laser it and
Okay, I was wondering if it was going to be surgical.
release the rubber. It's like releasing a rubber band, and then the tongue is free. But then the tongue doesn't know what to do because the tongue is free, and then it's like it's still not going to move. Like I've had patients who've had frenectomies and the tongue still thinks it's tethered. The muscle in the brain are like,
Yeah.
my tongue is still tethered. I can't move it. So then they need rehab, just like you would get rehab for like a knee or an arm or anything else. Like
That's so interesting.
Yeah, it really is. It's fascinating. And so I'll do like pre-frenectomy therapy, and that's what me and like in the local dentists collaborate a lot on, and the local providers is they won't release it until they come see us. Because there has to be dysfunction. You don't want to cut something that doesn't need to be cut, right? And so they're like, well, they've got a tongue tie. But when I tell parents, because they're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, because sometimes they're like, the doctor sent me and I've been 3 different places. And I'm like, my job is to find dysfunction. We don't want to cut something that doesn't need to be cut.
Yeah.
So I'm going to investigate and see if there's dysfunction. And sometimes there's a tie. It's not too severe, but the kiddo's eating, drinking, speaking, or the adult, whoever, they're fine. So let's just do a little bit of exercises to help you move your tongue better, and then you'll be good. Occasionally, though, the majority of the time I do find dysfunction, and that could be like full body, kind of like it could literally be like they have reflux, or they have acid reflux. A lot of my adults that come in, they have like acid reflux. Because they're tied, right? So they're gulping kind of air, and then they have air in their bellies, and they have reflux and sleep apnea. I get a lot of patients with sleep apnea because their tongue's falling back in their airway. Just a lot. I mean, anything has to do with the tongue and the mouth, like I'm busy.
That's
like,
so interesting. I never thought that like it's so like intertwined.
It is.
That's
and then so
cool.
once they have the frenectomy and their tongue's released, and they come back and I do active wound management to make sure that wound doesn't attach, because then we're back to square one if that
Right.
wound attaches. So I have to like literally put my gloves on and like lift and like teach parents to do that, unless it's an adult, in which case I'm like, this is what you're gonna do, and my adults will come in. And sometimes these adults, like I had a 30-year-old patient, he was like, my mom tried to get my tongue released when I was 10, and I cried. I told her I didn't want to do it, and so we didn't do it. He's like, but now, like, I'm 30, I'm having these problems, and I know it has to do with the tongue tie.
Yeah.
So he like took himself in there on his days off, like did the therapy, got the release. We worked for a little bit, and then like, so he like decided on his own, I'm having these problems, and should have listened to my mom when I was 10.
Should have listened to your mom.
And
Always.
So I get, like I said, everybody.
Yeah. What's something that parents should look for or maybe notice when like their child probably like they need to come see you to help with like speech therapy and stuff?
So speech therapy wise, I think if the child's not, definitely not saying words by 1-2 years old. So by 1 year old, we say they should have, one word utterances like, mama, or it doesn't have to be a lot, but at least start to try to communicate. And it grows so rapidly from there.
Yeah.
By 2 years old, they should have like 2 words together, like big doggy or mommy up.
Okay.
By
Yeah.
3, and that's kind of like, it's kind of like a guide, informal guide, like, so 3 years, 3 words.
Interesting.
1 year old, you should be able to understand them like 25% of the time. What do you want? Pointing. It could be gestures. It could be words. Just they're trying to intent to communicate, and they're growing that weekly, monthly. And then by 3 years old, 75%. By 4 years old, that child should have almost 100% adult-like speech.
Yeah.
Should be able to be like, hey, what'd you have for breakfast? What's your favorite ice cream? Oh, what'd you do at school today? And just have this full-blown on conversation.
Yeah.
If that's not happening and child's not communicating, has limited words, doesn't really understand when you're talking to them, should definitely, be referred and have an assessment for speech therapy. The iPads, they have a technology. Sometimes I go on this rant. I won't do that, but I think that it doesn't talk back to. iPads don't talk back, and phones they don't talk back.
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
So they're not
there's not
having
going to be
that
that
communication.
two-person communication.
Yeah.
And I'm such a proponent for like puzzles, blocks, crayons. Have the parent play house, play.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes that's not possible, but even the kiddo alone using his imagination and doing things. And so the iPad and the cell phone, I mean, yeah, they know their colors. Oh, they know their ABCs. They know all of this, but they can't tell you what their favorite ice cream flavor is. They can't tell you what they did at school today because
Yeah.
they haven't had that communication, conversation practice. That's so important.
Yeah.
You know, even being at the grocery
Interesting.
store, like, hey, look, this is an apple. An apple is red. An apple grows on a tree. Just this daily, like, you know, monologue of conversation. And they're on this iPad or iPhone, and they're not talking. They're inputting information great. You know, they're super smart, but functionally and socially, they can't carry on a conversation.
They're not being asked to have that conversation, right? When they're
And
just
seeing it like in real
when they're
life.
just consuming it, right? I see.
Yeah.
How do you like you talked about like the frenum, right? And it was like that's obviously like a physical thing.
Structural, yeah.
How do you make the differentiator between, you know, this is just something that maybe they're a little behind in terms of where they should be versus like, I mean, like autism or something like that. Are they connected? Are like
So during the assessment, the first thing we look at is oral. We like, you know, get our light in there, put our gloves on. If structurally everything's there, like it should be there.
sure, yeah,
We hope it's there. But structurally everything's functional. Tongue, teeth, you know, they're not missing a whole lot of teeth and there's no tie. And words aren't coming out and they're struggling to talk. And then we have assessments. We have like standardized assessments and they're normed on populations for these kiddos of certain ages, along with our clinical experience, you know, it would be like, then we diagnose into like, this is a speech disorder. This is a
Okay.
language disorder. This is a phonological disorder. This is apraxia. This is stuttering. And then we break it up into like, and then that's our job is to tell the parents, these are the results of our assessment. Your child has a phonological processing disorder or an articulation disorder. And then what's our solution? Our plan of care is this is how we're going to take care of this and help your child to remediate and rehabilitate that. Therapy is so helpful. You know, let's help them. And then school has therapy as well. So sometimes I'll have kiddos who go to speech therapy at school and they come to us in outpatient. Outpatient's going to be one-on-one, you know.
okay,
But yeah, it's during the assessment process that we determine and can pretty quickly kind of figure out what's going on. If we suspect autism, we will refer to a developmental pediatrician who specializes in diagnosing that. You know, we can kind of, and either way, parents are like, oh my gosh, what if? And I'm like, you know what, the treatment's the same. Even once diagnosis or not, we're going to help your child communicate. Because I've had parents think that they need a diagnosis for autism, but
yeah,
they're still going to come back here. We're still going to help them with communication.
Yeah.
We're still going to help them talk, or if they can't talk, sometimes they can't, and they won't be able to. We can help them with alternative sources of communication, like pictures, or like we have like speech generating devices where like the machine talks for them.
okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they just kind of push the buttons, and the machine, hello, my name is, like, it does all the talking for them.
How cool.
I know.
ChatGPT.
Yeah. Super cool.
Just so I'm aware, like, can you give it some examples, like some common examples between a speech disorder and a language disorder?
Yes. Speech is speech production, like motor production of speech. So, like, a lot of kiddos, instead of saying lion, they'll say, like, wyin, wabbit instead of rabbit. So that's going to
Okay.
be your, like, speech sound.
Okay, gotcha.
Language entails understanding language, understanding what somebody's, like, asking you, talking to you, and being able to respond to that. So language entails more like semantics, which is like social syntax, which is like grammar, grammatically correct sentences,
Okay.
being able, like, if a child is speaking in 2 words, like they're like 6 but they're only giving you 1 word answers, like that would be a language disorder. We want that, I mean, it should be a 7-8 type length word sentence. It should be grammatically correct, syntax, semantics, so vocabulary, and then there's 2 parts to language. There's comprehension and there's expression. So occasionally, like, they come in and expressively, that score is going to be really low. Like comprehension, like their comprehension super high, like within functional limits. Expressively really low. They just can't tell you what they had for breakfast.
Yeah.
They just can't put the sentence together. They'll just be like, milk. Yeah. you know,
Okay,
as an
yeah,
example. Like, hey,
right.
what'd you have for breakfast?
They're not forming
Yeah.
full sentences at
Eggs.
a time where they
Food.
probably should be.
Like, hey, you know,
Okay.
this is what I had. This is what I did. Do you have any pets? We always ask, like, do you have any pets? Yeah. Or the woof woof. Okay. Yes, I have a dog. His name is Spot. You
Yeah.
know, he's got, 3 legs.
Right.
You know.
But if you're 1, okay, fine. But if you're 4, right, there's probably
Yeah, and
there's
so
an
there's
issue.
developmental
Okay.
norms for that. It's okay for a 2-year-old to say doggy jump. It wouldn't be okay for a 6-year-old. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so growing as you age, you grow in vocabulary from like your vocabulary should be 25 words. And then by like 3 years old, it should be like 1,000 words, so
Yeah.
like it grows and we have those developmental norms. Kiddos develop at different stages.
Right.
But for the most part, we have the norms, that
Yeah.
we kind of go by. And then if they're advancing and they're kind of moving pretty quickly, like, okay, yeah, they'll be okay.
Yeah.
They're not where they need to be,
Sure.
but then
But
like,
they're
or
getting there.
sometimes they start therapy and literally like they had no words. And within like a couple of weeks of therapy, they're like little chatterboxes. They just needed to like a little bit of therapy and parents maybe a little bit of education on how to help increase language within the home. And then they're successfully like graduated, discharged, and all that. So
I love
I think
that.
we try to keep them moving in and out.
Yeah.
What causes that? Like you said, the like lion, whine. I know the big like when I was growing up, whatever. I'm sure is like spaghetti, paschetti type of things. Like what causes those things? Is it just it's just hard to comprehend how those letters or how those sounds go together?
So a lot of that is what we call like a phonological disorder. And so a phonological disorder, they're patterns of speech that are developmentally appropriate up until a certain age when they should disappear. For instance, it would be okay for a 1 or 2-year-old to say like tup instead of cup or tutti instead of cookie. But so then like that would be fronting because the sound k isn't T. So they're simplifying speech. So these patterns are simplification of speech. That's normal for a 1, 2, or 3-year-old. As you get older, those patterns should developmentally disappear. They go away. You have more adult-like speech. For some reason unknown, those patterns, they stay and they linger. They just they didn't disappear for whatever reason. And so then they need therapy to be taught how to make those sounds. Final consonant deletion, that's an example. So they'll say ka. Ka could be anything. Ka could be cup. It could be cupboard. But all they're saying is cup,
Right.
So like they're leaving off the whole, that's another process. So there's like several processes. Omitting word sounds, syllables, final consonant deletion, initial consonant deletion, and transposing words. And their patterns. And we almost have to like work on it like one pattern at a time from a developmental perspective. If it's just a speech sound disorder where it's one sound, like lion for a lion, then we're going to work on like getting, like physically elevating your tongue to where it needs to be. Placement, production, tongue goes up, and we teach like L, T, D for tongue up sounds. Sometimes those kiddos maybe were previously tied, or like have a history of mom was like, well, when they were 4 months old, we had them released. We lived in Florida, and I'm like, oh, okay. Did they get therapy for that? No. Okay. So then so occasionally I'll hear that there's a history of tethered old tissue somewhere, and there was like no kind of rehab for it. And so I kind of know I have to get in there and work a little bit more on the tongue to be able to produce those speech sounds. Sometimes it's just unknown, and sometimes it's hereditary. They'll be like,
Oh,
well,
really?
Dad was in speech and mom, and I wasn't
Oh.
like, yeah, they'll be like, I was in speech too. And when I was in, school. And then I'll have siblings. If there's 4 siblings, I have them all 4 in therapy.
Wow. Okay. I never thought about that.
I have
guess-
brothers and sisters. Yeah. Sometimes I'll have them all, and the cousins. So
I think it's interesting that, like, if you look like a accent from like the East Coast, and it's really like just how they like move their mouth muscles to say like dog or dog, like they just all say it so
Yeah.
differently, and it's just interesting to me that
yeah,
that's all.
that's
it's like
something
all
to
the
consider
muscle.
as well, like dialects. Like you wouldn't work on certain sounds. Like we have like a West Texas draw. Like that dialect that's appropriate. In some like Caribbean, Spanish, Cuba and Puerto Rico, sometimes they aspirate their R's, so they're like H's. Sometimes they don't produce final sounds. Like just knowing that, so that when they come in, we're like, this is a speech disorder. No, this is a dialect.
Yeah.
I see. can you help people get
You
rid of an
can.
accent?
You can. There's a difference then that kind of comes in with the whole medical versus like.
Right, it's not medical, right? At that point, it's just like.
So I also do accent reduction therapy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm certified to do that as well. And I get a few clients every now and then, but that's going to be like, insurance isn't going to pay for that. That's just,
it's
Right,
elective.
right.
yeah. And sometimes when I have those patients, it's because they're speaking. They're like, I'm a doctor or I'm a business person. I have meetings. They don't understand me. I need to work on my
wow, okay.
accent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so they will go for accent reduction therapy because they want to reduce their dialect or their accent.
Interesting.
What type of accents are we talking here? Like,
I have
Heavy ones.
I'm just curious. I'm curious.
Yeah, I have. I'm actually currently going to work with some missionaries from. I think somewhere in. I think from India,
Okay.
and I have some from Mexico. Us being close to Mexico.
Those are whole different languages
Yeah.
that they're trying to just reduce a little bit versus like Cajun, Louisiana accent or Northeastern.
Yeah,
or
this
so.
is like they learned English, but their languages are so different
So
Right.
different,
that they
yeah.
are kind of continually making these errors, so they have to be taught like because sometimes our phonemes, our sounds in English, they don't exist, in other.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, your practice is bilingual, right? For English and Spanish. Like, I was going to ask. I mean, are there just? I don't want to say disorders, but are there? I mean, there have to be just differences between. I mean, what's harder? Is the English language just that much harder?
English is pretty hard.
Okay.
Like Spanish is multisyllabic. Sometimes these kiddos come in and it's like they want to speak English, but their parents and all their families speak Spanish. We definitely want to build that foundation, and we'll do Spanish. We want to do Spanish therapy because, if it's a 4-year-old child and mom, dad, grandma, and everybody speaks Spanish, we don't want them to come in and do English therapy and teach them English.
Yeah.
It's not our job.
Right.
Our job is to fix their disorder language or speech in their primary language. But going with that, with the multisyllabic, so it's like dog, 1 syllable in English. Perro, it's 2 in Spanish.
Yeah.
It's like apple in English. Manzana. It's like everything's an extra syllable in
Yeah.
Spanish. 4 or 5 syllable words. But phonetically, it's correct. You could read Spanish. You could just read it and say it correctly. Versus English, like phone, pajon.
Yeah.
Right. Knife has a
Yeah.
K on the beginning of
Knife,
it. Yeah.
pajon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Can you teach? I mean, you rolled your R's. I can't do that for like. Can you teach somebody to roll their R's?
probably.
Really?
I do work on that.
I mean, like you were saying, like hereditary or just being in that culture or whatever. Like, do little kids that their entire household speak Spanish, they just inherently learn how to roll their R's like that, right?
Unless they have an orofacial malfunctional disorder and something going on with their tongue. But for the most part, they should be able to trill that R.
I'm so jealous of it. I can't do it.
Trilled R.
Yeah, you can't.
I also can't do the thing that Cardi B does, whatever that is. Whatever sound that is, I can't do that either.
Yeah, that's
That's probably a disorder. I don't know.
Yeah.
Ask Cardi B. Interesting. Okay, so
Oh, Cardi.
that takes a lot. I mean, when you say 7 years of schooling plus, that
Internship.
now I get it. Yeah, this seems like there's a lot going on here. So, you were saying about so when should parents sort of look into this? Are they going to go to their pediatrician first and then okay? I see.
occasionally they'll come to us first and be like, "Hey, can you see my child?" And that's just like the whole insurance thing. Sometimes the
Yeah.
insurance wants a referral from the pediatrician.
I see.
Sometimes they're like, "I'm just gonna cash pay. I just want this help for my child."
Yeah. Having to deal with referrals annoys me, but whatever. That's another conversation.
Having to deal with some
Insurance.
like thinking something might be wrong with your child is
And then to go through like all these extra steps just to like get a service covered that you're paying somebody to provide. Like,
but it's already super scary, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're worried, your parent, they're probably going to come to you and going like something traumatic has happened and things like that, where a lot of the times maybe not so much. How long, like typically, are these therapies sessions, or I guess like are going to last?
or the
So they're dependent on the severity of the disorder. Typically, we'll see them twice a week, 30 minutes a session, mainly because due to age, like a 2-year-old's just not going to sit for more than 30 minutes
Sure.
with us. occasionally like 2 times a week, 45 minutes. If it's like an adult and they just suffered a stroke, we're going to see them probably 3 times a week for 45 minutes, dependent. And then we just kind of go weaning them off, you know, 1 time a week. And then maybe we'll maintenance you. We'll see you a few times a month. And then, well, you know what? I think you're good.
Yeah.
You're all better.
You give them their homework just like
yes, home carryover program.
with... Interesting.
Yep.
So, Austin, opening up practice in Austin, branding wise, you can't call it West Texas Speech, right?
No, so that's something we had a conversation about. And in doing that, I know we're just getting started, but it's already kind of flowing. I think it's, now that we've done the work here, that carbon copying that and putting it there, we thought, okay, Austin works, then what if we want to do another location in Dallas? And like, what if we continue to expand?
Or like Amarillo.
It still
like,
can't be West Texas Speech, you know.
Are you rebranding? Are you in the process?
So we are,
Okay.
yeah. So it's Thrive Therapy of Texas.
Okay.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I'll have to show y'all my logo.
Cute.
Excellent.
Yeah, so Thrive Therapy of Texas, and if we ever leave Texas, that'd be a whole nother thing. But for now,
But that'll be easier because it can be Thrive Therapy of Oklahoma. or
Franchise it at
Mexico.
that
Yeah.
point, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you going to be splitting your time between
I
here
am.
and
Yeah,
Austin?
initially I'll be so right now I'm the second week of every month in Austin, and then maybe 2 weeks, and then I don't plan on doing more than that. But I've already started to hire my Austin therapists, and this will be the training. Kind of growing a business sometimes it's like you have to just kind of start to grow an organization. We're like, we need a training center. This is the training center. So now we're calling Odessa like the training center. So we're like telling people, can you come and train at the training center? This is the training center, you know. And so the Austin people will come. We'll get them a hotel here. They'll train with us here. Not training therapy wise, but training to our systems or doing our forms, office manager, receptionist, things like that.
Nice.
But we are doing that. So we're in the process of finding, website marketing and doing all
Sure.
of that
Yeah.
over there. So right now we have a
Very
logo, we have a suite, we have, employees coming on. And so we hope to kick that off at least by November, to at least have a ribbon cutting by late November, first week of December.
That's fast.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But hey, there's a need,
I
right?
know.
So, okay. It seems like, I have to imagine you have a very busy work schedule, life schedule. You're a mom, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm a grandma.
And you're a grandmother.
What?
Okay. That
How
threw
old
me
are
for
all
a
your-
loop.
How many children do you have?
I have 3 children.
Wow. Okay.
They're 18, 20, and 24.
Wow.
Okay. I've got a almost 22-year-old, 18-year-old. How did opening a restaurant come into all of this?
Oh, well, sometimes I get ideas in my head.
Just a think tank.
and then I don't rest until I do it. And after it's done, sometimes I'm like, okay, that was fun. But I'm like,
No,
I have to keep doing it.
You have to actually, you have to, it has to function.
I'm better at like starting businesses and like, then like, then I'm like, okay, it was fun and it's doing great. But
Yeah.
so that's what happened. So I looked across the street from my medical clinic and there was some sweets. I was like, you know what would be cool? If there was a bar there, restaurant. Because there's just limited places to eat. I mean, in Odessa and Midland, there is limited places to eat.
Yeah.
We had like Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, and we always go to Cork and Pig and Red Oak because they're across the street
Right.
in the Park Salgado. We were like, so it was kind of for us, but like, this area, what, the community needs it.
Because
Okay.
it's building out there quickly.
It is, yeah.
It's
So that's always my thought is like, sometimes when I do things, I don't necessarily do them for me. I do them with the intent of this is for the people.
Yeah.
So I was like, my office could go look at all these other offices. Maybe they want food. Maybe they want an after hours drink.
Yeah.
And then once I put the idea in my head, 9 months later, it was born.
Wow. That's quick.
Literally.
okay. So this is called Fuego West Texas.
Uh-huh.
You're probably gonna have to rebrand it after you.
No, it'll just be Fuego wherever
It'll
else.
just
they
Fuego
open.
everywhere, right? I see what's going on here. Okay, so let's talk about Fuego. So tell us all about the restaurant and bar.
So it's different. It's like a eclectic. It's different. I just wanted it to be different. So like in order to do that, like I would drive from Austin to Odessa. So come see my son lives in Austin. My boys started stopping at pawn shops. In Llano, there's like all those like old pawn shops and stuff. Was like, you know what would be cool if this place just had a bunch of funky stuff in it. And so got like old bikes and old window seals and old door frames, just like anything, that old guitar cases, brought it all and I had the idea in my head, started to organize. So anyway, built the place out. And then I started to organize it and I was like, I can't get it right. So I hired Emily Chestnut, interior designer from Midland. And I was like, here's all this. And this is my idea. And then of course she was like, threw the guitar case on the wall. I would have never thought.
There's like chairs hanging from the ceiling, right?
Yes.
Okay.
How cool.
And I would have never thought to put the bikes on the wall. She was
Yeah.
like, let's put these old vintage bikes on the wall. Great, you know? And so she went and like took all that job
Made your
on
vision
for
come
me.
to life.
And yeah, and we have pallets hanging from the ceiling with chains.
Okay. It's super colorful. I've seen that. It looks like a Alice in Wonderland,
Yeah.
like, dream, I guess, right?
It
Super
does, yeah.
colorful. It seems like it's a party spot after hours.
Yeah, yeah. Here's the cool thing about it is my vision was like, yes, I would just want it to be just a place for casual, cocktail hour or happy hour. But then also like, I like to dance and I like to party. So I was like, so then it's crazy the transition, and people will be like, or I heard some people talking at night the other day and they were like, have you been here? No, it was during the day. They were like, have you ever been here at night? And they're like, no. And they're like, you need to come at night. And then at night I've heard people talking, have you ever been here in the day? They're like, no. They're like, come in the day. Like it's
Jekyll
two
and
different
Hyde.
places. Yeah. So in the day it's just super quiet. A few people eating. In the afternoons just having cocktails. And at night there's a DJ, and then it's like it's loud, like loud, lights out, rowdy, like club
Nightclub.
like,
Nightclub
vibe,
setting.
yeah.
Okay.
And so initially we just had the cocktails because the kitchen just took forever to get built, and cities and regulations, and so we were just straight bar for like 4 or 5 months, and the kitchen was ready, so that was cool. So we have Mexican food, just all sorts, like appetizers, small bites, warm soups, and just a variety of stuff. Really, the menu's grown. Didn't have that planned initially. Just wanted a few items, but people love this and people want that, and it's just kind of grown. We probably should condense that. But the food is so good. So primarily bar, but now it's turned into more like, I think a restaurant is more.
Yeah, I saw a gastropub, and I was like, oh, that's gastropub in West Texas. That's a concept for sure, right? It's just, so is it like you said? Is it mostly small bites, or they're like full on meals?
Well, see, that's the whole transition of it, like how it's changing. Initially, it was just super small plates. So we had a chef just putting out small bites, visually appealing. Just it was that, and then it's West Texas, and you kind of have to morph to where you're at,
Yeah.
And
Of course.
so our workers were coming in. They were hungry. They wanted a bigger plate. They wanted more portions, and then that's how it kind of transitioned to the small bites initially, that it was with like 5 to 8 items on the menu, to now like 15 things on the menu and a plate loaded with enchiladas, and so it just became full blown on. It transitioned to just straight restaurant / bar.
Oil filled guys and small plates doesn't.
Oh no,
That doesn't match.
Mm-hmm.
That
A
makes
lot
sense.
of times they're so busy they don't get to like eat during the day. So then they come to you and they're like, give me all the plates.
Yeah.
And we've become a rental venue almost too. Like,
really?
It's because it's just because of the way, the looks, the uniqueness of it.
Yeah.
We have a lot of like meetings. Realtors have made it like their like monthly meeting event place, and like the YPO goes, and different parties, baby showers, bridal showers, proposals. Like it's gotten graduation parties. It's just gotten to be, which is cool too.
Yeah.
We're open to that. We will accommodate for that because it's just a cool spot to just do something, like have a little party.
Do you have like happy hour specials or brunch or anything?
We do. We have happy hour specials every day from like, I think 1 to 5. And then we don't have brunch yet. On Saturdays in the morning when we open, because we open at 12 every day. But on Saturdays we open a little bit earlier, but they are having like mimosas and bacon type drinks, cocktails that the bartenders are making. And we've talked about having brunch because brunch is like, it's
Like
just,
with the DJ. and like
on a
mimosas.
Sunday
Mimosas,
brunch.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And we've actually had a lot of people request that, and so that's something it's in the works. For that, as well as kind of we're doing some interior modifications right now to do some like VIP type areas with like some red curtains and stuff, just to kind of do some little privacy areas for
Nice.
some private groups and stuff. So
What about football? Football's back.
so now we're open on Sundays.
Okay.
Yeah, typically we're not. We're closed Sundays and Mondays. So yeah, on Sundays now we are, and we'll do like small bites, and the bar will be open.
Fun.
Do you have those beer towers?
No, but we
I hate
have
those
we have the buckets.
Yeah.
I don't understand a beer tower. Like by the time
It's like
it
flat.
gets warm.
Yeah, it's
It's
warm.
warm. Yeah. I was like, whoever's drinking 100 ounces of beer in a.
Okay, y'all did that in Vegas, and when our friend ordered it, what did she get? It was like Miller Lite or something. I was like, yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, that's a lot of.
It's a lot of warm Miller Lite.
It's a lot of warm beer.
Yeah, yeah.
A mimosa tower.
I'm more of a tequila.
Yeah.
Like tequila, club soda, and lime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to get to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fridays and Saturday nights, that's the club time DJs dancing.
DJ
Okay.
dancing.
Yeah, I was going through the Instagram and I was like, okay, this is a party spot. I think at one point you had like guess the number of chandeliers on the wall or on the ceiling and things like that. Like, I was
And
like,
so those chandeliers are they came from estate sales too around Odessa and
cool.
Midland. Yeah, and this one lady was like, "This was my grandmother's."
Oh, wow.
And it was my mother's. She was like, and now like so she was like, these crystals are probably real, like by this point, and it was super, it's not even big and it's super heavy.
Yeah.
But just, there's like estate sale and like all sorts of randomness.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's fun.
so what's the biggest differences right off the bat of just running your, speech pathology clinic and a restaurant?
Really, with the restaurant, it's keeping up with, we're keeping up. It's
Yeah.
just in general keeping up. I mean, new drinks and new entertainment and new foods.
Yeah.
People want new versus a speech therapy clinic. Like we provide speech therapy service.
Right.
I feel like we don't have to market that as much versus like I feel like those are the two main differences. Is
Yeah.
in the restaurant or entertainment industry, like it's a constant, which is fun, but also, if you don't have somebody helping with that, it's like, oh wait. But the clinic, it's weird. These are the services we provide.
Yeah.
And we're not going to really add new services. Definitely add techniques and approaches based on evidence-based practice and introduce our new clinicians. But it's more calm.
You don't have to keep up with social media and
the
reels.
clinic is more. It's a calmer business
Sure.
to run.
Yeah, I bet.
I walk into the bar and it's like I'm on like it's high energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's high energy. The music,
Yeah.
the staff, the bartenders, the patients, the drinks, and
Yeah.
just the kitchen's going like frying tacos. It's just like it's
Yeah.
going. It's
Yeah.
like the energy's different, and running it, you have to have that same kind of energy.
Yeah. Between the pathology clinic and the restaurant, like, and I'm going to say the pathology clinic here and in Austin, how many people are you employing?
So at the clinic currently there's 11 of us.
Wow.
And then the clinic in Austin, so far, we have 3 of us. So my office manager, myself, and a new hire. And then Fuego has about 15.
Wow.
I know. I was thinking about that the other day.
That's so cool.
Yeah. I was like, about
Nice.
30 employees, give or take. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're into real estate as well, right? So so you're just like, yeah, man, my feet hurt today, and you're just like, oh, maybe we can do a foot spa across the street too.
Yeah.
Just opening things up based on just
Yes,
your
it's
mood.
like what are my needs?
Right.
Because I feel like I'm human, and I'm a local West Texan. So if I have these needs, surely the community
course,
is thinking
yeah.
the same thing. Like seriously, it's crazy. I'd be like, or like coffee, was so limited. I thought about opening, like I need to open a coffee spot. Midland's got a lot of like new spots.
yeah,
Yeah.
great, yeah.
Yeah, but Odessa not.
Yeah.
We have Corporal Rays.
Okay.
And then the Human Being. So we have a few, but I was looking more like is it the Black Rifle?
There's Black Rifle
Yeah.
down here. Landa is
Landa's about to open. Mark Marquez.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
They're about to open up their shop.
Oh, yeah.
Right around the corner, and
And Sip House has a coffee.
Sip House has coffee
yeah,
now.
they do. Yeah, and I like that. Like just a loungy type of coffee, not
Yeah.
like Starbucks cup, like table, more like loungy.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah.
And so I thought about that. So yeah, if it's something that I would like, then, and it's not, then I'm like, if it doesn't exist, then I Let me create it.
Yeah.
You know, and then again, I think about later about, oh, now I have to run it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, you just hire, right? You just
Yeah,
continue to hire.
yeah.
You've got so much going on. This is wild. Okay. So to top that on, you are a bodybuilder as well, right? Competing and are you currently competing?
I'm fixing to get ready to compete.
Okay.
I would jump on stage twice a year.
Okay.
One at the regional level, Texas, and then that qualifies me typically, usually, always for the national level, and then I'll go do a national show, and I'm a kind of a procrastinator in that aspect as well because there's shows year round, monthly. There's shows, there's bikini and bodybuilding shows annually, monthly, weekly, every weekend. I'm busy. I wait till the end of the year, you know. So I'm like around this time, I'm like, oh, it's almost the end of the year. I haven't done one yet, and that I do that for accountability. I think in like the gym. I like the gym, and I go to the gym year round. But I like a challenge, and when my plate's full and I'm like busy doing an Austin location or something, I'm like, it's not enough. Like I need to do something else. And then,
Why would it be enough?
so
Of course. Okay.
I have to do something.
I got more than 4 hours of sleep last night. Like, let me add on another
Let
thing.
me do something, and then I'll get my coach. I hire my coach. I kind of maintain myself year round, but then I'll get a coach about this time, about 10 weeks out, 12 weeks out, and and then it's intensified. Like what I thought I was doing well at the gym for, like it's went from 5 days to now he's like 7 days.
Yeah.
I was doing 4 days of cardio. He's like 7 days. I was doing 30 minutes. He's like an hour a day. So like all of that's super increased and it's super stressful.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Like, and I'm dying, but I love it.
Okay.
So-
That
Have you always
endorphin
been
rush.
into fitness?
No. I mean, I've always been a pretty healthy person, not necessarily like gym wise, just, you know, healthy lifestyle. But I gained weight. Well, people are like, no, you didn't. But like 3 years ago, like we were drinking, we were Taco Bell 2 a.m. And then I gained some weight. And I was like, I need to go to the gym. And I started going, but I kind of fell off. And I was like, you know what? If somebody tells me to do something, if you set a meeting on my calendar, like I'm going to be there. If that's not there and I don't have a goal, I'll slack off. And so I got a coach and he made me send him weekly pictures and we set a bikini competition date. And it was like, if I didn't do that, then like that's going to be on me if I show up on stage like not ready.
Yeah.
And so I got my coach the first time, and that was kind of what set it off, is the accountability. Like I had to report to him. And so that was why I did it initially. And I was like, it's a one-time thing. Let me see how I do on stage. Well, I did well, and I got like second place.
Your
So-
first time?
My first time
Oh,
at
wow.
the
Okay, good for
Texas.
you.
It's called the Cup, Texas Cup. It's in Waco, and it's an annual. It's like one of the last shows of the year in Texas. And I was like, okay. So then I was like, let me do it again. So in March, right after that, I went to Las Vegas, and I got top 5 again in Las Vegas. And then it just continued, and then I was kind of hooked. And then it's been 3 years now. And then I ended up at the national level, and I've done well there as well. So I don't know how much longer I'll do it. It's hard, you know. But
I mean, most people are like gearing up for the holidays, and that's when they, everyone gains a bunch of weight because they're eating all the
well, and I
foods.
can't eat.
Yeah.
So
And you're like,
I
let
haven't
me
had a
just-
Thanksgiving in 3 years because I do this around this time.
Yeah, talk about the diet. I'm curious about the dieting. This part of it.
So it's a lot of lean protein,
Okay.
like egg whites, chicken, tuna, and greens. Carbs are healthy carbs, rice, sweet potato, things like that. And that's it. The diet like literally consists of like 10 foods.
Yeah.
Right.
And I
Does
play
your
with
coach
it.
put together the?
So the coach will put together my macros and like a diet plan.
Okay.
I'll sub out. If I don't want chicken, I'll do turkey. If I don't want spinach, I'll do asparagus. As long as you stay within like the macros or calories, protein, and it's a lot of
Are
protein.
you weighing your food? And
I am weighing my
Okay,
food. Yeah.
yeah.
I carry a scale. I have a scale at home. I have a scale at my office, and carry a scale in my purse.
See, it's not
I've
crazy.
lived that life.
It's not
with him.
crazy. So competition time, you're very strict. You're very calculated, but for the rest of the year, you're cognizant.
mindful.
You're aware.
I'm mindful. That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm mindful. I'll have like a dessert or a hamburger or pizza once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks.
Can you even eat at your own restaurant during competition?
Yes, because they have chicken.
Okay.
So,
All right.
like chicken flautas, chicken enchiladas, chicken. So they have this poblano pepper, and it's a poblano, like a stuffed poblano, but it comes with cheese and other sauces and stuff. So I'm like, give me the poblano with chicken, like with the salsa, no cheese and no sauces, and then give me a half a cup of rice. So like then I get my portions or my food, but like it's real specific.
Yeah.
They're like, she wants she wants you to weigh her rice, she wants you to weigh her chicken, and this is what she wants.
Yeah, the chef should know. They're like, Tanya's in competition training. Okay, well, everybody knows.
Yeah.
We got it.
Yeah.
We got it.
And it's just literally like a little bunch of chicken, rice, and greens.
That's so funny.
I don't mind that. I don't mind it. But yes, I do love beer though, so that's the downfall.
Yeah.
And Texas barbecue, it turns out, it's pretty good.
It is good. Oh my
So what else is next for you then? What are you looking at? What are you looking to do?
I'm looking to eventually move to Austin.
Okay.
I'm looking right now I've acquired some land off of Faudree. I'm looking to build some suites. Again, I feel like the need for the people. I feel like there's not a lot of there's buildings, office buildings and land, but sometimes, I mean, you have some independent local business people. They don't need a whole building. They don't need a whole piece of land. They're looking for a spot to do their work, whether it be massage or chiropractor or whatever they're doing. And so I'm looking to be able to provide some medical suites or just rental suites there.
Nice.
That's next. And then Austin, and then so on. That's like my short term.
You're so multifaceted. This is kind of fascinating because...
You know why? I think in my mind, I have this constant... I feel like I'm running out of time.
How
and
so?
not me necessarily,
Yeah.
just, I guess, in general as humans.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess our time is limited.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to be
So
here
you're making the most of it.
forever.
Yeah.
Like, you could want to do 100 different things and you might not get to do them all. So you have to, or you could if you hurry up. And it might not be a good thing because, like, I'm constantly moving, I feel like I don't have time to sit. I barely have time to go to the restroom. But, like, that's, like, kind of at the forefront of my mind always is hurry.
Yeah.
Like, hurry. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
And so then I do as much as I can, and I've done a lot with that type of, like, mentality. Like the whole bikini thing. I'm like, okay, I could definitely be on stage when I'm 60, but I'm not going to do as well as when I'm 40.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's time for youth, there's time for strength, there's time for, I'm not going to be able to climb stairs like I can now. So if I need to climb stairs to do something, I need to hurry up and do it now. Like age-wise, time-wise, resource-wise, world-wise. Just, we're running out of time. I feel like I just think, I saw this quote, I should memorize it because I always look it up. But it said, we should all live like there's no tomorrow,
Yeah.
and I think that's always why I'm literally running
Yeah.
to do it. Like, they're like, the store's right there. Like, you're just going to Market Street. And I'm like, I know, but
I can get there quickly.
but they might run out of milk by the time I get there.
Okay.
I mean, it's like seize the day, seize the moment.
Were you even in, your teen years or whatever, like, were you a big, like, goal setter?
I wasn't.
Okay.
Big procrastinator, like lazy, and I feel like
What changed?
Yeah. How did you break that?
having kids, graduate school, and getting to work, I think just totally changed my mindset. But here's the other thing and why I keep myself so busy. If I'm not busy, then I'm the total opposite.
Yeah.
If I don't have something to do, I'll lay in bed for days with a bowl of cereal, like watching documentaries.
I can relate to that.
Like Forensic Files. And I love it. And I'm so happy in my bed eating cereal and watching Forensic Files. And I could do that for days. Like, I'm happy. But then I don't get anything else done.
Yeah.
So as soon as I have some downtime, it scares me because I'm like, oh my gosh.
I don't want to fall back into that.
Hurry, I don't want to
I
go
see.
back into the
Right.
bed for 3 days.
You
So
want to
then-
be proactive, and you want to be accomplishing things versus...
Yeah, because I don't have the discipline. There's not like a medium point. Like, I'm either going to do nothing and like waste my days, not clean my house and like lay in bed and binge eat, or I'm going to be super productive entrepreneur, start new businesses and like do all this positive, go to the gym, be healthy. And so it's like, two total extremes.
I see.
I feel that like when I worked in hospitality for many years, and like, I mean, it was 12, 14-hour days running around nonstop. Like, it was chaos. And I think since I've gotten out of that field, I'm like, oh, I have all this time to like watch TV. I can sit in bed all day if I
it's
want to.
nice.
And now I've
Yeah.
got to figure out how to like break that and find a happy medium.
It's like once the momentum's going, it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I can't. I don't want to lose it.
Because it is kind of fun to be busy.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like to live my life at 100%, right? But I definitely feel guilty when I'm teetering towards the, like if I'm doing something sort of like, I don't know, casual or whatever, consuming YouTube or whatever, and I'm just like, all of a sudden though, I feel guilty because I know that there's other things I could be doing that are,
More
beneficial,
important. Yeah.
right, to the long term. But so I totally understand that. But obviously you recognized that it's hard for you to balance that. So you might as well
I have to pick one. Yeah. Like don't want to be as busy and I hate it. But also I feel like I'm doing this because I have goals.
Yeah.
But like I'd like to stop. Like I'd like to be like, I'm done. And like, I want to check it off so that I can like sit.
I see you love to travel.
And
I
be
saw
done.
you travel all over seemingly, right? Weren't you just where were you literally?
New York.
Okay.
Italy,
you were in Italy before that?
yeah.
It's funny because you weren't in Vegas, right? The last few?
I was.
Okay.
Yeah. I
'Cause-
go to Vegas at least 3 to 4 times a year.
Okay. Because
I love Vegas.
I felt like I saw a picture of you on your Instagram and I was like, I couldn't tell if you were like at the Venetian in Vegas or you were actually
In Venice.
in Venice, right? And I was sitting there going like, because I'm like, I'm from Vegas, and I was going like, and you were talking about Italy and things like that, and I go, I can't tell. I was like,
So you were actually in
I was
Italy.
actually in Italy.
okay.
Yeah.
I was
is
thinking
funny.
like, I think she might be at the forum shops and Caesars or something.
But then I was.
okay, so all right. Now, so I was confused. All right, I was like,
I mean,
man.
when Sheldon Adelson like designed the Venetian and Palazzo,
Yeah.
he literally did it to be an exact replica.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I was like, my brain goes to, I'd probably be having lunch at the Venetian. I was like, she's probably in Venice though. Like,
Yeah, I spent 16 days in Italy. And then I was in New York last weekend. And then before that, I was in Vegas. I like Vegas.
Yeah. So you
I
work
like
hard to play hard.
Vegas. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
you deserve it.
I'm like,
I mean,
work really hard. And then I'm like, party.
Travel the world.
Travel.
Yeah.
Work.
Good for you.
That's
Yeah, you have
good.
to have some time for yourself.
Yeah.
You gotta have some fun in there.
Yeah.
Book us a trip to Italy.
You got it, baby.
Or Olive Garden. That's fine too. They treat you like family. Tanya, thank you so much. Thank you for inspiring
having
us,
me.
really. I mean, you are a multi-business entrepreneur,
A mom.
a mom, a grandmother, and a bodybuilder. So listen, no more excuses out there.
He's talking to me specifically.
I'm talking to me. I'm talking to me through this camera. Get out there and build your legacy and build your dream. So we appreciate your time, and we'll definitely check out Fuego. Definitely check out Fuego this weekend. And if you are having any sort of speech disorders or you feel your child is, go visit Tanya West Texas Speech, and the whole last part of it, the orofacial myology. Put those words together again. And if you're in Austin, you're going to be able to
Check out
Go there too.
check out what was it called? It was
Thrive.
Thrive
Therapy of Texas.
Thrive Therapy of Texas.
Triple
We'll link
T.
everything in the
Triple T.
description below. Triple T, I like that.
It is, yeah.
Okay. And we'll see you on the next one.